everybody.
Hello.
I think there's a delay.
There might be. The tech gremlins are out today. Don't worry about it. We'll just go with it.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is Martha Maya. Let me know, Sharon, if you hear an echo on your side.
At the moment, I don't hear an echo.
Okay, great. Sharon, please introduce yourself while I fix something on my end.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Martha, I want to say thank you for having me. I am Sharon Birn. I am a life coach and advocate, and I have many things that I am passionate about. And one of those umbrella areas that I am passionate about that kind of overlap with everything I'm passionate about is working with corporate moms who are navigating raising teens and tweens with anxiety and depression, beat burnout through self care routines so that they and their families can thrive and not just survive. I really want people to get, and I want people, not just moms, I want all people to get off the hamster wheel that most of us are on in this country and get back to reconnecting with themselves so that they can reconnect with those that are important to them in a healthier way. So yeah, that's,
Thank
and
you.
I mean, that's what I do. That's not who I am. That's what I do. But what I do is part of who I am. And as you get to know more about me today and other days, you'll see how everything is, how where I began kind of led me to where I am today and why it's so important to me.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I'm so excited to jump into this conversation that we're having here today. Why do we have this here at Connect Impact Hub? Well, we all come from all different walks of life, and our personal struggles can be different than being unhoused or homeless. And so we're going to be sharing today the journey of Sharon and how she is now leading in the atmosphere of life coaching and how she's helping individuals succeed in their businesses or even just in general in life. So I'm really stoked. Sharon has an inspiring story, and I'm going to go ahead and let her share a little bit about her childhood life, and then we'll walk through it together. So Sharon, passing the mic back over to you.
All right. Well, thank you again, Martha, for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So, my childhood, I have my childhood is kind of like for most of us, both sides of the coin. I had a very happy childhood. I had a very family oriented childhood. Have a lot of very fond memories of being with my family and just doing different things with different members of my family, which I'll dive into in a minute. But the reason I say that there were both sides of the coin for me is I was born with a disability, and I am a full time wheelchair user. I was born with cerebral palsy, for short, CP. And CP is a neurological disorder or condition or disability, however, there's so many terms. I'm not really into terms, but anyway, it's a neurological disorder that affects the cerebrum. That's why it's called cerebral palsy. And there is a huge continuum of how cerebral palsy can affect an individual. It really depends on where the people hate when I say this, but it is brain damage. So it depends on where the damage to the brain in the cerebrum happened. So for me, the damage to my cerebrum really happened in the area of my motor skills. And so that is why I am not able to walk independently. My arms are affected, but they're very mildly affected. And I do have some aspects of my disability that you cannot see, such as bladder issues and digestive issues. But for them, I'm blessed because I have my full cognition. I have my full ability to speak. So in the grand scheme of things, I like to consider myself blessed because it could have been a lot worse. Or a lot more, I don't want to say worse, a lot more involved. I hate the word worse. But yeah, so it could have been a lot more involved. But my childhood, having been born with a disability, I never let my disability define me because I was blessed to have parents that never let my disability define me. They didn't allow that to happen before I was even old enough to take that over myself. And so I was blessed with parents that advocated for me and didn't buy all the crap that they were being told about what my life would and could be. Because honestly, from the moment that I was born and my mom started to recognize limitations, and I was diagnosed at 18 months. And from that moment on, my life became determined by other people based on what I wasn't going to be able to do. And as I said, thankfully, my parents didn't buy into that and they didn't let me buy into that. So my childhood was about proving others wrong so that I could prove, but not just to prove them wrong, so that I could prove myself capable. And that led me to the realization that I knew I was born to do two things. One was to be a mom, and two was to help others. And in no particular order, they were both equally important to me. So I really focused, I became hyper focused on my studies, and that included my innate desire to learn that went beyond the academics that I learned in school. At a very young age, when I would go to the bookstore with my mom and my sister, we were all avid readers, but I wouldn't go to the young adult and teen section like my sister would. I would ask for the psychology and personal development and self-help books. And at 10 years old, I'd be looked at like I was an alien, but that's where I went. And I also went to the autobiography and biography section because I wanted to learn from others who were underdogs or things like that. So, and the other part of my childhood that I remember so well is my grandparents were my best friends. I was very close with my aunts, uncles, and cousins. We did a lot of family dinners, family holidays. The holidays were either at my aunt's house in her basement or at our house in our basement. All of us just eating way too much food, laughing and having so much fun, going on family trips and vacations. So that was the fun part and the joyous part. The hard part was, all the surgeries that I had to endure because of my disability. And also I was relentlessly bullied from the end of middle school all throughout high school. And so that was hard. I had a love-hate relationship with school because I loved to learn, but I hated being there. But I wasn't going to let the bullies win and take away my achieving my goals. So I just stayed hyper focused on my goals. And the other thing that was very important to me growing up and still is important to me to this day, I am a dog lover. I have had dogs in my life since I'm very young, and I will have a dog in my life, at least one, until the day I am no longer on this physical earth. They're just, I don't know, I just love them. Anyway, so that basically my childhood.
Yeah. Wow, Sharon. Just listening to your share here, considering everything you've been through, like, how did you continue what pushed you to move forward? Like, what words of affirmations were you saying, or were you writing? Were you speaking to, did you, assistants, like who encouraged you to keep going? Your grandparents, your parents, your family? I mean, yourself. How did you do this?
I think it was all of the above. It was my parents, it was my grandparents, it was my own innate desire. The more somebody told me that I couldn't do something, the more I was determined to figure out a way to do it. Because I wasn't going to let anybody define myself or my life. There's only one person that can define our lives for ourselves, and that's us. And I don't care if you're 3 or 103. I know people are listening to me saying, you're crazy. A 3-year-old can't define their own life. But yes, they can. That's where it starts. Because we have to start developing a sense of self, a sense of self-worth, a sense of self-confidence, a sense of self-value at a very young age. And I really believe that that's what this country is missing in America right now, is we're stepping away from that. Where our focus and what we're prioritizing and considering important really isn't that important on the grand scheme of things for to have a healthy society and for our world to continue. I have been blessed to work. I wanted to. I knew I wanted to help people, so I went into a field that where I worked with people who have disabilities and and their families. And I also worked for years with people that were dually diagnosed with physical and intellectual disabilities, as well as mental health diagnoses and chemical dependency. So I have a lot of vast experiences. And part of the reason that I wanted to do this was because I don't care whether you have a documented disability or you just had a rough childhood or whatever, because there's lots of different reasons that we can have the situations that we have. And for a lot of people, they don't have people like I did to talk to. And often, yeah, I talked to my parents about what I was going through, but I didn't talk to them a lot because I was aware of the impact that my disability had on my family to begin with. So I didn't want to add to it, and I didn't want to, make them, more upset. So I would try to talk to teachers. I I was stubborn when I was younger. I would not talk to a therapist because I had this mindset that that was a weakness and that I could do this on my own. But when I got older and when I went into college after having all that trauma from being bullied and all that stuff, I actually sought out help. And I realized that getting help is not a sign of weakness. It doesn't mean that you can't do this. It actually added to the strength that I already had. And so that became even more of a reason why I wanted to help people realize that it's not a weakness. And none of us can do this alone. And I know that a lot of the people that watch your, channel and things like that, they're homeless and they're struggling and they're homeless for different reasons. And I know that there's a lot of judgment and stigma around people with mental health issues or being homeless for whatever the reason is. And part of the work that I do is to reconnect people with themselves and their self-worth, regardless of what other people are thinking about them. And in addition, my work and my passion. And for me, people say we want to know about you, Sharon. And what I want to be able to say here today, Martha, really importantly, is that for me, my work is part of who I am. I can't separate it. Like for me, my values, my personal values, very much so overlap with the work that I do. And I don't believe that any one of us should be homeless or should be on the verge of being homeless. And I don't believe any one of us should be being judged for a physical disability, for a mental health issue, for losing a job and becoming homeless. It shouldn't be about that. We should be working together to lift each other up. And so those are the things that drove me when I was younger, and these are the things that drive me now. I was never good at watching things that I felt were unfair and just sitting back and letting them happen. I could never do that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Sharon, what would you tell someone that maybe has a disability, or someone that's in the house that's maybe listening, that's in their car, they're being judged, or they're asking for help on a social media platform and are being judged? I'm just throwing some examples out of real life scenarios. What advice or words of encouragement, however you like to answer that, would you give them?
Well, this may not be popular, but I don't do popular. I do what I feel is in line with what should happen and what's in line for me. And when people judge other people, I try to remind myself and others that are being judged that often you're being judged because the people that are doing the judging don't feel good about themselves. That's number one. Number two, oftentimes we're being judged not just because people don't feel good about themselves, but it's lack of knowledge. It's easy for people to judge people on what they think they know, but often people that are judging others have no idea of what is really involved. So, those are my thoughts on judgment in and of itself. But what I, the advice I give people is people are going to judge you all the time. People, if they're not going to judge you on the color of your hair or the color of your skin, they'll find something. If they're not feeling good about their situation or they don't understand something, the knee jerk reaction is to go to judgment. And that's one of the things that I want to change. So here's what I say to you. I know this is easier said than done. And trust me, this took me years to really understand and grab onto. And I'm still a work in progress when it comes to this. And I freely admit that. But the work that you have to do is in here. It all starts from inside us. We're human beings. So as human beings, we need external validation. We do. It's one of the things we need. Who doesn't like to hear you're doing a good job or you're great, you're doing great or keep it up or you really made an impact? We all want to hear those things. But it's when we look for those things too much that it becomes a problem, because people are quicker to judge than they are to compliment. So it has to start from within. You have to do the self, reflection and really reconnect or connect with yourself and your purpose. Because if you connect with yourself and your purpose and what makes you tick, what other people say isn't going to matter, because you're going to keep going based on your feelings about yourself. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have a bad day or you're not going to have self-doubt. You're going to have self-doubt. But it's also important to make sure that you surround yourself. We become who we surround ourselves with. So if I would have surrounded myself with only the naysayers in my life, and believe me, there were tons, and there still are, by the way. But if I would have surrounded myself with them and only surrounded myself with them, there's no way I would be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be talking to you today, Martha. There's no way I would have had the courage and the confidence to be doing what I'm doing. I would be, God knows where I'd be, but I know it wouldn't be here. But if you have a dream for yourself, don't let anybody dull your shine. Don't let anybody put out that fire. People are going to try, and and here's the thing, you have to enjoy the journey of life, because we get so hung up on the destination and what we think we're supposed to do. And we get so focused on the destination that we're missing the lessons and the joy of the journey. Because my journey, everybody's journey, but I'll use myself as an example for right now. But my journey took me in a different direction. Yes, I wanted to help people. And yes, I'm helping people. But this is not the way I envisioned initially helping people. And that's not a bad thing. But if I would have stayed so focused on the destination of I'm going to help people and I'm only going to help people by attaining my PhD, and that's how I know I'm going to be successful at helping others, and that's when I know I'm going to have made it, I wouldn't be doing the great work that I'm doing now. And I wouldn't have the speaking engagements that I have now, and and have the autonomy that I have now to be able to help people the way I want. I would have been more boxed into what I was told that I was supposed to do. So I think that's my biggest thing for people is, I know it's not easy, but stay focused on your goal, but don't stay so focused on how you're going to get there. Because also your goal is going to change. I hate to tell you this. You think you have a goal right now, and it may not change, but odds are something about that goal, if that goal doesn't change in its entirety, something about that goal will change, because you evolve. And as you evolve, your wants, your needs, your passions evolve a little bit, and your opportunities change. And as your opportunities change, you change. And the whole thing, it's just a vicious cycle, but it's not vicious. It's just a cycle of growth. So I
Yes.
say, let yourself grow.
I love that. And it does start with yourself. You have to love yourself. I actually learned that late in life,
Me
Sharon.
too.
I remember I had someone in my life that I had just connected very briefly, but consistently this person would say, know your self-worth, know your self-worth. And it got so engraved. I'm like, it was very short temporarily that I knew this person, but those words just stood out so bad that it took me to be,
Mhm.
in my late 30s, 40s now to
I'm with
realize
you.
I know my worth now. I know what I'm going to deal with and what I'm not going to deal with.
I'm telling you the truth. I said it just a few minutes ago. It took me a long time to learn these lessons, and I didn't really lean into these lessons and really lean into my own self worth myself until my 40s. You know, I
Yeah.
did on some levels, like with the not letting the bullies derail me from my goal of wanting to get a college education, because I knew in order to be able to help people in the way I thought I was going to help people, you needed a college education. Okay. And you needed secondary education. So I knew that. So I wasn't, but I, as much as I was confident in some areas, right, and very confident in some areas, my self esteem and my self confidence were not very high at all until much later in my life. Um, to be honest with you, for me, the turning point for me, the true turning point for me in finding my voice and learning to speak my truth unapologetically came when I became a parent. I knew that parenthood was going to change me and help me evolve and become a better version of myself than I was, but I had no idea to the extent. And when I saw my son, who was struggling with mental health diagnoses, and the way he was being judged by family, friends, educators, school administrators, I was like, you know what, people? No way. And so I began to advocate for him the way my parents advocated for me. And I taught him at a much younger age to speak up, because one of the things that happens when you have a disability or any kind of diagnosis, I feel, is sometimes, and this happened to me a lot, people have this erroneous view of you that you need to be taken care of. And that includes being talked for. And let me just give you some examples of what I mean by that. When I would go to doctors, the doctors would talk to my mom and say, well, what's wrong with her? Okay. My mom would answer. I would go to a restaurant and they'd say to my parents, what does she want to eat? And for years, my parents would answer. And then all of a sudden, one day, my father turned around and said, I'm not answering anymore. You're going to answer for yourself. And it took me a long time to really feel secure with using my voice to speak my needs. And that really, although I got better at it, it wasn't until I became a parent and then I became a single parent because my ex husband left, where people weren't really listening to me. They were doubting my abilities to parent. And so I was like, no, this is not okay. And I began to speak up and I continued to speak until people started listening. And I don't mean just hearing me, I mean really listening. And so that's and that didn't happen until I was in my 40s, like I said. So while I can sit here and say, yes, I graduated college, I graduated high school, and I kept my eye on my goals, there were still things that I was really struggling with. And that's part of the reason why I went into, I started working with people with chemical dependency and mental illness and homelessness and people with criminal histories, because I felt like, and I still feel this way, people are too quick to judge. And so I want to be I'm determined to be part of the solution and not be part of what keeps perpetuating the problem. And so, what I want to tell all of your listeners here today, even though my experience comes from my having been born with a physical disability, and you know, it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter where we start from. The thing for me is I can relate to somebody who has experienced homelessness because or is experiencing that or is experiencing a mental illness because I have been an underdog. So it doesn't matter what caused us to be, sold short. We can all relate. And then the other reason, the most important reason I feel like I can relate to people, even though we might not have the exact same story, is because we're all human. And that's where we need to start from. We need to start from the human connection. And that if we're really doing that, then that should push the judgment aside. But judgment is just fear. Judgment is fear. Fear of, oh my God, this could happen to me. Oh my God, how do I avoid this? So there's lots that goes into being judged.
Mm-hmm.
So
How do you close the noise? How do you close the noise?
that's a tough one because there's a lot of noise around.
Right.
But how you close the noise is, for me, I I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of journaling. I find it very freeing and liberating just to get my thoughts out. But even more importantly than the journal, well, it's all important. But another way that I shut out the noise is, um, so here's the thing: we all have circumstances, and it can be homelessness, it could be a disability, it could be financial uh, struggles, whatever it is, right? We all have circumstances. We do not have to allow ourselves to be defined by our circumstances, even if others want to define us by those circumstances. We don't. We have to acknowledge our circumstances as fact and deal with our circumstances, but we can create something greater than our circumstances for ourselves. And this is how I shut out the noise. So I create a vision for myself. Literally, every day, I have a vision for myself. I've written it out. And every day, multiple times a day, I read my vision. And although I have circumstances that I'm not thrilled with right now, I I acknowledge them as fact, but I lean into the energy of that vision. And so I'll give you an example, if I may. My
Please.
vision is continuing to do the work that I'm doing, continuing to be asked to speak like this and do my own speaking, and so that I can help more people create visions for themselves and create a life that they love living. Because here's the thing: we all are, if we're breathing, we're living, right? So here's the main question that I want to ask all of your listeners. Are you living a life by default, or are you living a life by design? Because either way, we're going to live, right? And you might be asking, what the heck do you mean? Well, by default means you're just going about your life on automatic pilot, doing the things that you think that society and maybe your family wants you to do, or the things you have to do because of your circumstances. Or are you creating a life that you want that takes your circumstances into consideration, but is also going to move you beyond those circumstances? So, for instance, in my vision, I envision myself becoming a published author, right? Because I've always written. I envision myself getting asked to speak, helping many more people. Um, Part of my vision is at some point to create a nonprofit that'll help some of these things, some of these issues. But that's how I shut out the noise, because I live from the energy of the vision. Is it easy? No. All throughout the day, I get phone calls from people looking for things from me, or family members or friends that need help, and they bring my energy down. And not on purpose, but they'll say, "What are you crazy? You can't. How are you going to do that?" And for a moment, I let them infiltrate my mind, because they do. And so, but then I quickly get back to, But wait a minute. I see myself talking on stages, and I see myself working with the homeless, and I see myself creating, working with people like Martha to, to work together to collaborate to make the change that I see. And so that's how I shut out the noise. I meditate, and and the other thing that I love to do, and I can do this with you right here, right now. One of the best ways to reset your nervous system and reset your mind is with your breathing. And I know some of your viewers are going, "Oh my God, the breathing thing again? Are you kidding?" Okay, but I want to show you something all. I want to show you all something really quick. So Martha, if you're willing, I
Yes,
want
please.
I want you to breathe in through your nose with me like this. And then breathe out through your mouth as though you're exhaling through a straw. Now, I invite you to do that 2 or 3 more times, or do it for as long as you want at a pace that's comfortable for you, always remembering to breathe out as though you're breathing out through a straw. Okay. I'm just going to ask you a question real quick. Did you notice a difference I know it's quick, so you might not, but did you notice a difference in your body and your mind?
Oh, yes.
What happened?
It just felt like more relaxed from the top down to my shoulders. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know why?
Relaxed.
Because when you breathe out through a straw, you have to breathe out slowly. You can't do it fast. So if you're running, if you're in flight or fight mode, if something's happening, if you're homeless and you're not sure where you're going to sleep tonight, or you're not sure where your food's going to come from, if you're running through your mind or even running away from somebody who might be threatening you, you're running very quickly. So even if you're breathing quickly, and it's not calming you down. But if you force yourself, or you remind yourself, not force, but if you remind yourself to breathe out like you're breathing through a straw, you have to do it slowly, so it's automatically calming to your nervous system. Whenever you feel like you need to shut out noise, or you need to calm your nerves or your nervous system, the best thing that any of us can do, if you can do nothing else, is to reconnect with your breath. And the reason I asked you if you notice a difference is because that's how quickly it happens. So anybody can do it anywhere at any time.
Yes. And it's free. And it's free. You can do it anywhere, like Sharon said. Sharon, I love that you brought the breathing tool up, because it's one of our life tools that we have here, right? We all have our own tools. And I actually didn't really know about it until I came to LinkedIn and I met Brenda Leese. And I never really used it. And when I feel stress or I'm having an anxiety, because we all go through our own difficult struggles personally,
Absolutely,
we have to have our tools available. And I love the way you said the straw, because this is actually the first time I'm hearing that. So I love the way you describe that. So thank you for sharing. And I hope our viewers, if you have any questions, please post them in the comments, or if you just want to say hello, that you're here with us, that would be absolutely wonderful. So Sharon,
I just want to say I thank everybody who is here, and I thank everybody who's catching this on the replay as well. It's also about remembering that life is not a race. And one of the best ways to shut out the noise, and I know this is really hard to do, but we need to cut out the comparison game. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is yourself. So when I work with people, when I talk to people, I say, what's something you want to do different today than you did yesterday? Because the only thing that you should really strive to be is the best version of yourself that you could be at any given time. And you should always strive to be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday. You know? And the other thing is, listen, people are going to have opinions. They just are. That's human nature. So here's the other way you shut out the noise. If somebody gives you feedback and you agree with the feedback, then you can make the change. If somebody gives you feedback and you don't agree with their feedback, you don't have to make the change. Don't change because someone else thinks you need to or you should. But be honest with yourself. And if the person has a point and it's something that you want to shift, then shift it. If it's not something you want to shift, say thank you very much and move on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And all of this is easier said than done. And that is why the other thing that I encourage people to do, and it took me a while to learn, I just share this with you, it's important to have a support system. So make sure that you have the people in your life. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. It needs to be one or two people that you can go to that are going to tell you like it is, but they're going to tell you like it is because they care.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also going to tell you like it is, but they're going to support you through it. They're not going to be like, and throw you to the wolves for whatever they're going to say, And
yeah. Sharon, you said something that really stood out just a couple minutes ago about folks not caring about what other people say, right? When you're having, mental health issue, or you're not in a position where you thought you would be, and your own family, right, may be judging you, and you are the person, because this is something that I hear often, where our community members are always giving, right, and nothing is being returned. So how to say no is another wonderful area that maybe we can focus on later, because Sharon, like, as we're moving into this conversation, I'm also would love for you to touch base on the corporate life and those, what you learned in that area and how it led you to where you're at now. So
okay.
I'm sure you used a lot of no's.
What I learned is this. Our society is a very fast-paced society, right? Think of it this way. Parents in today's society, and many societies for that matter, are forced to work. Okay? And they're forced to work. Both parents are forced to work if there's a two-parent home. If it's not a two-parent home, a single parent is forced to work multiple jobs. Kids are being forced to do a lot more in school at a younger age. Kids in kindergarten today are being asked to do what I was doing in 6th grade. Okay? Hello. So there's not a lot of time to connect with your kids and really get to know who your kids are, and for your kids to really get to know who you are, and for you to, for everybody to kind of settle down. You know what I'm trying to say? So what I learned was that we need to restructure how things are being done and the expectations we have of ourselves, of our children, and the expectations that systemically we have of people that make up this world. But we need to, because what we're doing is not working. Parents are coming home so stressed because they have to, okay, so they get home from work, they pick up the kid from aftercare, or they pick up the kid from their extracurricular activity. Then it's time for homework. Then it's time for dinner. It's time for dinner and then homework. Then it's shower. Then it's bath, and then it's bed. And then they get up and they do all this craziness again. Where is the time to connect? There's none. And we need to get back to that. And we need to get back to families connecting intergenerationally. You heard me say about my childhood, the best parts of my childhood were the parts that I got to spend with my aunts, uncles, and grandparents. And that's because my aunt and uncle, my uncle came from Italy. His family came from Italy. My grandparents came from Russia and Poland, and came to America, and we have a better life because of that. But there are valuable lessons that I learned from being connected with these generations, and there's valuable listen. The other thing is that we need to listen to our younger generation. Just because they're younger doesn't mean they have no thoughts, feelings, and opinions that we can't learn from. So these are the things that I learned from working, for nonprofit even, or for corporations, is that we are so hyper focused on, getting the job done, making the money. And I get it. We need money to survive. So I get that. But I'm still saying that we need to put into effect, like, family game night should become mandatory. Bosses and schools should say, you know what, everybody's going home by 4 o'clock today. Things can be done, things can be shifted so that people can reconnect with themselves and with their families. Because here's the way I look at this. If you really think about it, and I don't care if you come from a nuclear family, mother, father, sister, brother. When I say family, it's whatever your family looks like, whether it's two parents of the same sex, doesn't matter, whether it's one parent, whether it's a guardian, I don't care. My point is that if you really think about it, your family is your first corporation or your first job. It's where you learn how to interact with people. We're supposed to be a team, right? So every team member is supposed to have a role, and every team member has value, no matter what their age or experience level. So what I learned was that we should be taking some of what we learned from family initially, and that enabled us to create the corporate world, and bring that back to the family and the corporation of the family. I am a firm believer in, when you focus too much on work or you focus too much on family, neither one is good. You know what I'm saying? Too much of anything is not good. You need balance. And
Right.
so that's what I learned from my time working for somebody else and working in corporate and working in nonprofit. There's not enough of a balance.
Mm-hmm.
And we can look around us anywhere in our society, and we can see that there's not enough of a balance. And what are we going to do about it to make that change? That's what I learned from my corporate.
Yeah, I love the way you brought up family. I never thought of it as a corporate, right? But we're dealing with different personalities within our families.
Mhm.
And then when you go in the workspace, you are also dealing with different personalities, but really you really become like a big family because you're
Mhm.
always with them. Most like you're with them more than
You
with your
have
own
two
family.
families. You have two
Yeah.
families. When you really think about it, even from a very young age. Once you're in school, you have your school family and you have your home family. And
Mhm.
once you're working, you have two areas where you spend a lot of your life, with family, or or with your work family. And it's crazy to think that we're asked to sacrifice one over the other. We're asked to choose. And yes, at times you're going to have to do a work project, so your home family isn't going to see you for dinner. But that should be on occasion. That shouldn't be the norm. And at times your family needs to be able to take priority. You know, one thing that I promised myself was that I would never miss anything major in my son's life growing up, unless I absolutely, absolutely had to. There was no way around it. But it was so rare, and that it came to that. But I want to live in a world, and I want to be part of creating the world where people don't have to beg their bosses for that. Where it's, hey, I have this event, so I'm going to take half a day on Friday, and for the rest of the week I'm going to work an hour an hour extra every day so that you get the time that I'm supposed to put in, and my family gets the time that that I'm supposed to put in. And I just feel like that some of the struggles that we are seeing, some of the struggles that you are you know championing with the connection hub and all the things that we're doing together, um these problems wouldn't exist. These
Hmm.
scenario and I don't even like the word problems, but these scenarios wouldn't exist because people wouldn't be asked to choose.
Right.
I For me, there's no reason that anybody should be homeless and jobless. There's no
Hmm.
reason.
Yeah. And Sharon, for our audience that's listening or again watching the
Mhm.
replay, is also the importance of having that knowledge, right? There's knowledge that I don't have that Sharon has. And so we connected because there's information and vice versa that we can collaborate with and we can ask for help. And so that's the beauty about networking, but also tuning into events such as this. And I know Sharon has had a few events she's a part of, so please connect with her. We did list her LinkedIn profile and also her website right in the comment of this event for you to connect with her directly.
Can I just
So
say one other thing too, really
yes, of
quick?
course,
I just
please.
want I want people to recognize that sometimes people are afraid to ask for help, and they're afraid to collaborate, not just for judgment, for embarrassment, for not knowing where to turn. But the truth of the matter is that none of us can do this alone. And if you're being judged by people, because I've been judged by people all my life, if you're being judged by people, then move on. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to judge you. So keep searching out the people that will view you as part of a team, because that's the one other thing that I see as a problem I mean, there's many problems in our world, but one of the biggest problems I see is that we're too competitive. We get further with listen, there is something to be said for healthy competition. However, there is more to be said for healthy collaboration, because there's none of us that can know it all, and there's none of us that can do it alone forever. So you have to, if it's not me, then reach out to Martha. If it's not Martha, then reach out to me. If it's not us, then reach out to somebody, because there's a lot of somebodies out there, and not everybody's bad. Not everybody's going to judge you. And I just want to also say, I know this is hard, but try and see things from somebody else's perspective, in the sense that if you feel judged by somebody, then ask yourself, what could they possibly be experiencing or have experienced that is having them come at this from this point of view? And just try and shift your interaction with them. But not everybody's meant to to like match up with everybody. So if you're not matched up with the right people, then just keep searching until you find your tribe, because your tribe is out there. But start it from within yourself too. Know your worth. And if you are having trouble creating a vision for your life because of everything you've experienced, you're not alone. Contact me. I will help you create a vision. And that's one of the things that's great about working with support. And I don't care if it's me or whoever it is, but you can have somebody. I like to call people like Martha. I don't even know if you know this, but you're one of my partners in believing. And what I mean by that is you see things in me that I don't even see in myself. And when I come to you with self doubt, you're like, no, 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 no. So find the people that are going to believe in you, even when you can't believe in yourself. They're going to believe in you enough. And working with somebody or finding that support also holds you accountable. So I know that since I've met Martha, she said, you need to do this, this, and this. And she checks in with me to make sure that I'm doing this, this, and this. And just knowing that she's going to check in makes me do those things. But even if I haven't, she wants a good reason why I haven't. So find your partners in believing, find your accountability partner. If you don't like therapy, therapy has its place, but so does life coaching, and they both work well together or separately. So find a coach, find somebody that you can connect with that'll hold you accountable. Find a friend or a family member that you trust that won't judge you, but that will hold you accountable to the things you say. And that's what I wanted to add.
Oh, thank you so much, Sharon. You just really like I said earlier before we went live, Sharon is absolutely remarkable and her journey of life. I'm a single mom as well, so I totally resonate with the share on that. And I know we didn't touch a lot on that, but Sharon, like your journey now, you're empowering people, you empower me, we speak, and I'm just grateful. When I hear you speak in different events, I'm just always learning something new, and I'm like,
Thank you.
wow, and I'm like, look at you, like you are a walking miracle in this world. And not only are you a walking miracle, but you're uplifting everyone that you connect with in so
Well, thank
many
you. I
wonderful
appreciate that.
ways. Yeah. So I wanted to know, I know, we have a couple minutes here, but like,
Mhm.
how does your program work and how can, folks connect and learn
I have
more?
I have different programs because one of the things that's I do have programs, but one of the things that sets me apart is I don't believe in running a program exactly as a program for every individual because I believe that we are individuals. So yes, I have programs and I do have group coaching programs where I have groups of, 4 to 6 to 10 individuals who are I don't do more than 10 because I want my groups to be intimate so that people, even though they're in a group setting, will get some of that individual, attention as well. Um, so I'm a very big believer in programs and taking things step by step, but at the same time, am a firm believer in shifting the steps to meet the individual where they're at or with what their specific need is around their specific circumstance. So I do group coaching. I do some one-on-one. I used to do a lot more one-on-one than I'm doing right now because I have shifted from a one-on-one model to more of a group model, or been doing a lot more public speaking. I've been doing a lot more writing and things like that. But I one of the things I love doing is working with people. And so part of the reason I went to a group model is because I can work with more people, but also because I believe that when you're in a group, and as long as I keep the group small enough, you learn from each other. Just like you were saying about the audio rooms, I've learned so much from you in audio rooms and listening to all the other people. So there's a benefit to being part of a group. And we all have this human need to be part of a group. So that's and I think, like I said, the thing that sets me apart than most of the coaches that I know is that even though I have programs, that there's still the individualized piece. And often for people that are in my group programs, I will offer them all a couple of one-on-one sessions with me as well. So they're getting both, but so I think so if anybody's interested in how my program works or how we can work together or what they look like. And I have more than one program because there are coaches that strictly have one program and that's what they do. And that's great. That works for them and the people that they work with. It doesn't work for me and it doesn't work for the people that I work with because I want to have different level of programs so that people can get the help and the value they need at an affordable price. And then if they feel that they can take the next step for the next program, quote unquote, then we can do that as well. So there's many different ways that I work with people. But that's the general idea or the general premise.
Okay. Yeah. And it goes with, your background too, because, you're so versed in so many areas. And that's what
Well,
I love about you, Sharon, too, because
thank you.
I know
Here's the thing.
that I,
I'm sorry.
oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Okay.
Go ahead.
We're
You
so
first.
excited over here.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. This is a good conversation. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to say the reason that I do work with so many people. I've actually had people say, oh, you say you work with too many people but the reason I do that is because I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to cut off some of my knowledge and cut those people out if they could use the help. And also it's like a chain, right? So, or like an umbrella. So the thing that I work, the areas that I work in, there's an umbrella, and then under that umbrella is different categories, but they're all connected. And this is one of the reasons why work life balance or work life harmony is so important to me, because if you have a bad day at work, everybody that you come in contact with after you leave work is affected by it, from the guy at the grocery store that you're stopping to get bread for or dinner for, for tonight, your kids, your husband. And if you have something going on at home, everybody you come in contact with, from getting a cup of coffee before work to at work, is affected. So,
Mhm.
that's why it's important for me to, obviously, I'm not going to dive into everything at one time, and I'm not going to, I'm going to concentrate on what the person needs. But if the person needs something and I have the ability, or I have the resource, like connecting them to you or connecting them to somebody else, I'm going to do it. So that's the only thing I wanted to add. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Thank you so much. I know the information that's being shared here is going to be valuable for whoever listens, because there's resources out there that a lot of us don't know about and that we have here that we can share. And that's the beauty
Absolutely.
about collaboration. I love that.
Mhm.
Um, so, what would you share for someone that may be facing at this very moment an internal difficulty, and speaking up is something that they are not good at, or being vulnerable to their family, or maybe just their community if they don't have family, because sometimes we have folks that don't have family and they don't know where to go. So what would you share some words of encouragement, because I know you're good at this, Sharon. I've heard you speak.
What I would
So
say, well, thank you. You're equally as good at it. But I appreciate it. What I would say is, look, if you don't have family, or you have family, but you don't feel like you go to your family because your family's too judgy or whatever the case, I just encourage you to not think that everybody is going to treat you like the friends or family or even the work colleague that maybe judged you. Please find that person that you can talk to. Here in the US, we have the 988 number. I think in England it's 999. In Canada, it's also 988. It's a hotline. Everything is confidential. If you need support, they can connect you to resources. But honestly and truly, this is not about me. It's not about Martha, but I will say this. If you're somebody that's struggling, if you want, reach out to me, reach out to Martha, and if we can't help you, we'll connect you with somebody that can, somebody that we trust to do so. The other thing is, you know, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain, and you're worth it. You're worth it. Look, I'll share one thing that didn't come up today, and it's going to be something that we'll probably have to talk about in another episode, if or another time, if Martha wants to have me back. But I went through a period of time when I was in college and had to adjust to being treated as Sharon, not the girl in the wheelchair who happened to have the name of Sharon, which is the way I was treated all throughout middle school and high school. But when I got to college, I wasn't the only person who had a disability who used a wheelchair. There were many people who had disabilities of all kinds, and many people who used a wheelchair. So my name became Sharon, who happened to use a wheelchair. And that was a big adjustment for me, among other things, like living on my own for the first time. And I was struggling. I was absolutely struggling. And I couldn't talk to my family the way I wanted to. I actually had to, for the first time, I had to reach out. But I went through, in my junior year, I went through a major depression where I had anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and uh, and had OCD horribly, because that was the way I was trying to keep control of my world. And I got told by friends and family and even some work colleagues when I was doing my internship that I was doing it to myself.
Mm.
So the reason I share that, and there's more there, but the reason I share that tidbit with you is because I had to keep searching until I found the people that stopped telling me I was doing it to myself and really got it and really listened and really, and it meant that I had to find a professional. I did. I had to find a professional who could then help me. And they did try to help me get my family to understand. And they did get my family to understand about that much, honestly. And I mean nothing bad about my family, but my family didn't believe in therapy, especially my dad. They just didn't, they don't come from that generation. So that's where I had to start coming from within. And believe me, I didn't get good at coming from within. And it's still a work in progress, but I didn't get really good at it until I was in my 40s. But the process started there. So that's what I would say is that I know you may not feel like you're worth it. And I get that. I've been there. I know you don't feel it, but trust me, you are. And if you don't believe it, find that person, find your partner in believing. And if you can't believe in yourself, then pull on the belief of the other people in your life that do believe in you, because you will eventually start to internalize their belief in you. I know you think I'm crazy right now. I know you don't think I'm speaking a truth because I didn't believe anybody either. But if you can hang on long enough, you will see it and you are worth it. And so that's what I say.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
You're
Oh my
welcome.
goodness. What powerful words. It starts with you, it starts with yourself. Love yourself. Go out there and spread your wings. Just do
Yeah.
it. Well,
Just
with
like the
that,
just like
oh,
the
go ahead.
Nike campaign, just do it. Just do
Just
it.
do it. Yes, yes, just do it.
Remember this. Remember this. We are greater than our circumstances, and we miss 100% of the shots that we don't take. And who better to take a shot on than yourself?
Beautifully said, Sharon. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone, for being here with us all. We send you so much love. And I hope that you all have a wonderful Sunday or Monday or maybe Tuesday, depending on where you're at in the world.
Yeah, depending on where you
Um,
are.
but please leave any comments. I'll be sure to get those comments or questions you may have here on YouTube to Sharon, or you can connect with her via her LinkedIn profile or her website. And again, thank you all so very much, and we will see you later. Bye,
Thank you, Martha, and
everybody.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sharon.
My pleasure.